Hi, welcome back to the Essential Coaching Skills Podcast. On today's episode, I have a very special guest. Kim West is here. Kim is a sleep coach. I've asked her here for a couple of reasons. One, I think sleep and good sleeping is really essential to us and to our coachees, the people that we are coaching. But it's really essential for human beings to have a good night's sleep and how to do that well. And I also want to talk to her about how she came up with that niche, because we as coaches need to sort of set ourselves apart from other coaches to say, well, why should I hire him or why should I hire her? So we're going to find out how she came up with this very interesting niche of being a sleep coach on today's episode. So let's get going. You are listening to the Essential Coaching Skills Podcast, a show devoted to uncovering the systems and the secrets that set the best apart, where you learn how to take your coaching clients to the next level, while you grow the coaching practice of your dreams. So sit back and relax, or sit up and get excited. Either way, you might want to pay attention. This could be important. Hey, Kim.
Hi, Doug. Thanks for having me here today.
Oh, it's our pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you so much for being here. It's fascinating to me what you do, and I want to know all about it. But first, I just want to say I'm on the East Coast where it's wintertime, and we've had a big storm here recently. You're like in sunny Las Vegas, though. Is that not correct?
I am. I think it's 55 degrees right now at 10 in the morning, and lovely.
What does it get up to? That's pretty chilly for Las Vegas, isn't it?
During the winter, we actually get into freezing in my neighborhood in the winter.
Really? Now, is that only at night or during the day for stretches, or?
Mostly at night, it'll dip that low. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We might get snow that sticks around for maybe a half day. That's about it.
Got it. Yeah. When I was in Las Vegas and where I met you this past summer at the Hypno Thoughts conference, it was ungodly hot. It was, I guess, 110 at night. When I went out to a store to get some, juice or something, and it was just like this wall of heat hit me at 10 p.m. and it was just crazy. And yeah.
I still haven't gotten used to it. I've been here 7 years, still not used to that heat.
Oh, you're an East Coast girl, aren't you?
I grew up on the East Coast. Yeah.
Oh, right. You're a dancer?
Yeah. Classic ballet dancer. Mm-hmm.
How cool is that? So you know New York City pretty well too, because that's where you did your stuff.
Yeah, I trained there for a little over 3 years. Yeah.
What was that? Where'd you train?
I trained at School of American Ballet, which is the feeder school for New York City Ballet.
Cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that's not why I asked you here today, so shut up. No, I'm just kidding. But I asked you to talk about your current profession as being a sleep coach, and primarily for adults, right?
Yes, only for adults, actually.
Only for adults.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to know all about that. So tell us a little bit about it. How did you get into being a sleep coach? How did you decide, because you're a coach in general, how did you decide to be a sleep coach in particular?
Yeah, so thanks for that question. I began years ago coaching people on various self-improvements using a variety of modalities. And what I was finding, there was kind of a common denominator where people wanted to work on these upper level, what I call upper level self-improvements, like focus when I'm studying or excelling at work or all sorts of stuff. And what I was finding is that if there was a missing link in the foundation of their well-being, those upper level self-improvement goals were a bit more challenging for them to achieve. And so looking at the 3 pillars of well-being, which are what we put into our bodies, our exercise, so our output, and our sleep. And I was like, I have personal experience with sleep trouble. I've had insomnia 2 different phases of my life. And something super resonated for me with sleep. And so I help people first work on the foundation of their well-being. so that they can then move on and achieve those upper level self-improvement goals.
That's really, really great. I am a firm believer in everything you've just said. I like that terminology, though, the three pillars of well-being. Exercise, eating, and sleeping. Do you also coach people on those other two pillars? I mean, do you sort of create a balanced approach in your coaching?
I'm not trained as, say, a nutritionist or as a physiologist, but I think from a general self-improvement standpoint, I help them with the patterns and the habits to help them with those areas of their lives. So, in a
Okay,
roundabout way.
nice. So that's really fascinating to me. So tell me, if somebody is coming to you for sleep coaching,
Mhm.
what makes them reach out to you? What are their problems? Is it insomnia that most people have, or do they feel a sense of I want to improve? I mean, just what's the
Yeah,
general?
insomnia is very common, especially with women,
Mhm.
who are a majority of my clients. Um, yeah, the ability to fall asleep and stay asleep. So that's generally what insomnia is about.
Mm.
There's so many things that get in the way of our sleep. And so people will come seek my services if they can't figure out, like they've DIY'd it online and they've looked at all the sleep tips, which are so numerous online, and it can be a bit overwhelming. So they're either coming to me because they've tried a variety of sleep tips and they just haven't nailed it yet, and they're tired of doing the trial and error. Um, or they come to me because they're looking for efficiency, because every day that we're missing out on good sleep, it really piles up. It's cumulative, it's exponential, it's horrible. And so I can help save them time by sorting through and pinpointing more quickly with my education in sleep. I can help them sort through those tips, find like the 3 to 5 that are really going to move the needle for them so they can just focus on those.
I see.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Those
see.
are major reasons.
So it's interesting then. So I just heard a very interesting sound. I don't know what that was.
Do you have ghosts in your house, Doug?
I don't know. It's weird. Did you hear it too?
No, I didn't.
That's very interesting. I wonder if it's on the tape. Anyway, so you basically have a lot of things that you understand about sleep. You do a kind of questioning with a person to find out where they are, they are doing, what they aren't doing, and then you suggest to them the things that they aren't doing to try those and see if it works.
Yeah, I have a pretty comprehensive intake because I take a holistic approach to the sleep coaching I do. And so we're looking at the various areas because so many things interplay with our sleep.
Hmm.
And so it's really important for me to learn the wide variety of factors that are going on for that particular person and then sort through them. It's kind of
Okay.
like detective work in a way. It's fun.
Very cool. So now I met you, as I mentioned earlier in this little interview, at the Hypno Thoughts conference last summer, where I was presenting a talk on on the havening techniques and a few other things as well. And you actually took that havening techniques class, um, but you don't, generally speaking, at least, use hypnosis in your sleep coaching, or at least you don't call it that. Is that fair to say? Is that true?
That is fair to say, unless a client is specifically seeking that. I have a variety of disciplines that I can pull from to help a client. So I love that ability to customize what that person needs. Guided imagery, though, is extremely helpful. And there's hypnosis can be used in a way just for pure relaxation
Mhm.
and calming of the nervous system, as you know. And uh, Andrew Huberman has coined the term NSDR, non-sleep deep rest, and that's a very palatable term, but it's basically along the lines of hypnosis, like a
Right.
progressive relaxation, and it also goes under the name of yoga nidra. It's all kind of the same helpful modality technique that people can do on their own in their own free time to help calm their system and actually 20 minutes of NSDR can equal 1 to 2 hours of actual sleep. So it's extremely helpful, especially when people are in the early stages of trying to improve their sleep. They can catch up on some missed hours in just 20 minutes.
Wow.
Break.
So that's really interesting. You know, when I think I may have mentioned this to you before, but I used to work at the Department of Complementary Medicine at Columbia Presbyterian Hospital in New York City, where I did pre-surgical hypnosis, and that was clearly pre-surgical hypnosis for patients who are about to undergo cardiothoracic surgery, generally speaking. There are other people too, but that was the main department we were working for. And everybody knew it was pre-surgical hypnosis, but we didn't call it that. We called it guided imagery or guided visualizations, because there's something for a lot of people about the word hypnosis that has, you know, meaning ascribed to it that may or may not be accurate. So it's interesting that Andrew Huberman has got a whole nother take on it, not even guided imagery, but non-sleep deep rest, NSDR. He's got his own abbreviation for it. That's an interesting thing. I had not heard that before. Andrew, I've listened to a lot of Andrew Huberman's podcasts, but I hadn't heard that non-sleep deep rest.
Yeah, I appreciate what he's doing, because he's acknowledging these things have been around for centuries and they're very helpful. But yeah, what we call it and how we present it to the public is very important.
Yeah, for sure. So guided imagery, do you do like a general what's it called, like progressive relaxation? Because, you know, for me, just as an aside, hypnosis is named after the Greek word for sleep. Hypnos is the Greek word for sleep. And to me, a hypnosis is tailor-made for sleep issues. You know, I've worked with a lot of people. I have a sleep recording that I've sold for, you know, thousands of recordings, called "Get a Good Night's Sleep" with Doug O'Brien. And it's hypnosis, basically. It's guided imagery. It's a guided relaxation imagery. How much of your process does that? Do you use that with everybody, or part of only some people, or what?
I do. If the client is open to it, some people don't want electronics, or they're very sensitive to electronics and they don't want earbuds in or any recordings of any sort. But some clients are not as sensitive and they're open to listening to something. And it depends what they have going on. I find that recordings to go to sleep to are extremely helpful for people who are, as Matt Walker calls it, wired and tired. And they're just kind of in their heads way too much when they're trying to go to sleep. Their cortisol levels are still too high. Their circadian rhythm of cortisol levels are off. And while we're working on that, sometimes falling asleep to a recording can really help them get out of their thoughts, listen to a voice that's guiding them in a very calm way, walking them through a beautiful scene, and just lulling them into that sleep. It's very helpful.
Right. I think it's really helpful. I have found it to be almost unfailingly helpful for most people. But other people rely on other things like sleeping pills or alcohol. You know, they have a hot toddy before bed is a famous thing. It's like have a little warm milk with whiskey in it or something before bed. How effective are, you know, sleep aids like that, alcohol and sleeping pills?
Yeah, even supplements, melatonin, they're not as benign as we thought. And they tend to put us in a sedated sleep, not so much the melatonin, but the sleeping pills and the alcohol. They put us in a sedation mode.
Huh.
But sedation and sleep are very different things. One is not restoring us, and one is. So alcohol may help you feel initially relaxed and tired, but a few hours later, you're going to find yourself not able to get into a deep restorative sleep. You might be waking up with a little bit of a sugar low, 2, 3 in the morning from the alcohol finally burning through. And it's a bad night's sleep in general. So alcohol is not your sleeping friend, at least not within hours of trying to go to sleep at night. Maybe earlier in the day, it's a little more benign, but not good. And then sleeping pills, most of them out there, the pharmaceuticals, are meant for only a couple weeks. They're meant to be a placeholder, just like a a Band-Aid for a couple of weeks. Really, that's generally what they're meant for. And then after that, you're supposed to have a handle on naturally helping your sleep. But unfortunately, a lot of pharmaceuticals are misused and used for way too long. And it becomes destructive towards our sleep. And then we have to work through that to get people back on their natural cycle.
Yeah. And that's one of the things I've often said to people about hypnosis is it's really hard to OD on hypnosis, or it's hard to become dependent on guided imagery. In that same sort of way. The first time I ever had a sleeping pill was like the stupidest thing I ever did. And I was really sorry I had done it. And in fact, I don't know if I've ever taken another one since, but I was training for the New York City Marathon and I was really, 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 really nervous about, running it. And it was the next day. So a friend of mine who had this prescription for Ambien, whatever it was, I think it was Ambien, went to it every night. Every night he went to sleep with this stuff. So I thought it was probably okay. And I said, well, could I have half of one? And I'd had probably the worst night's sleep I ever had. I woke up feeling horrible. And I just would have much better off if I hadn't slept at all and just, just tossed and turned. I'd have been far better off. But yeah, wasn't a good marathon. Let me just say that.
Sorry to hear that. Yeah, I do. I love being in the field that I'm in because it's really do no harm. It's, it's pretty darn harmless and 99% of the time super helpful. So it's a fun field to be in.
So let me ask you about this. I'm aware that people these days spend a lot of time on, devices like the one that we're on right now as we record this, computer screens and phones, and we're subjected to light and what they call blue light, but just light a lot. And for me, I'm on the computer all day long, and then to relax, I watch movies with my wife on the same computer screen. So I'm not speaking as somebody who's fixed to this in his life, but how much is that a factor in not being able to sleep very well? This dependence on all this light producing things.
Yeah. So research shows that blue light, especially later in the day, is going to wreak havoc for most of our sleep. It's going to throw off our circadian rhythm. Our bodies are very sensitive to daylight and blue light. But it's not across the board. And that's one of the things I love working one-on-one with my clients is I can customize. So some people are really affected by the blue light that they're coming in contact with and the amount that they're coming in contact with. And then others are a little less sensitive, and that's not really a factor in their sleep at all, even though they're watching TV later in the day. And for me, we're in this modern society. We love our Netflix and Amazon, and I am totally guilty of that. It's just guilty pleasure. And it's about a balance. It's about a balance between our modern society and what we do for fun and to get our days, our work done during the day. And then it's a balance with what our bodies need biologically, what we're programmed deep in our DNA to handle. And it's striking a balance with my clients to achieve that.
So just for the sake of those of us who don't know what you meant when you said the circadian rhythms, just could you give us a 10-cent definition of what that means?
Yeah, circadian rhythm is basically our 24-hour cycle that we're naturally on, and most animals on the earth have a circadian rhythm of some sort. And it's mostly guided by light. Light helps us gauge that. And so seeing daylight first thing in the morning is super important for starting that 24-hour timer, if you will. But a lot of our modern society stuff are access to light no matter what time of day it is. It's lovely to have an on-off switch for the light for my rooms in my house, but at the same time, that's really wreaked havoc on our circadian rhythms. When we eat, when we exercise, and our exposure to blue light for sure all affect our circadian rhythm. And there's also a circadian rhythm, a pattern, a daily pattern of when our cortisol is supposed to be activated and when it's supposed to taper off. And we, unfortunately, in our modern society, it's quite easy to throw those things off.
Mhm. So what do you recommend? What is the recommended like hours of sleep? I was raised knowing it was 8 hours, and knowing, being told it was 8 hours was the recommended thing. When I was working at the hospital those years ago, they said, well, actually, there's new research that says 7 hours is the appropriate amount now, as research has shown, and I'm not sure that's true. But then there's people like, I used to work for Tony Robbins as an example, and that guy fucking never slept. Pardon my French. He never slept that I could tell. I mean, I'm sure he did. I think he hung down in the closets. I don't know, but it was amazing. This guy just was go, go, go. And he'd say things like, yeah, I'll sleep when I'm dead, kind of thing, which is, good if you can do it. But I saw, including myself, so many people try to emulate that. And then I became just a wreck. I just couldn't do it. I mean, I spent days in bed with a raging fever. My body just was not equipped for that kind of thing. What's the reality? Is it 7 hours, 8 hours? And what about outliers like him? I mean, can we train ourselves to be like that?
I think we have a natural set point within ourselves, and we're all individuals, but there is the bell curve, right? So that's where the studies are going to focus on the majority of us. The majority of adults, 18 and older, need 7 to 9 hours of sleep to really have the proper restoration with the body and the mind each night.
That change with age?
That really doesn't change with age. No, and there's a misnomer out there that people who are older don't need as much sleep, but that's actually not true. They tend to not get as much sleep because their melatonin tends to drop off a bit, but that's not actually what their bodies are needing. Their bodies are still needing a minimum of 7 hours. Is really where it's the tipping point of you get negative health effects and emotional and mental effects from less than 7 hours of sleep a night on average. But we're not looking for that every single night, right? This is not about perfection and nailing a specific number every single night. It's over the average of the week, and just try to allow yourself to get that 7 to 9 hours, and you're going to be good.
Okay.
To speak about Tony Robbins, that bell curve, he's on the end of the bell curve in a number of areas. And I'm not surprised his sleep is there. It's rare that somebody can function well off of that little sleep, but it is possible. We're all a little bit different. Our bodies need slightly different things, and we're individuals.
Yeah, for sure. So basically, we have to figure out what's right for us and stick to that, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
But we don't have to do it every night. Some nights we can stay up all night long and we'll be fine. Is that what you're saying?
Maybe not all night long. I was just thinking of dipping below the 7 hour mark. No.
So then you can make up for it on the weekends. People work, like I work 12 hours a day sort of thing, then relax for a few hours. And so I sometimes don't get a full 7 hours of sleep, but I can make up for it on weekends, you're saying.
It's really tough because we look at our medical professionals and our shift workers who are so important to our communities.
Well, let me just stop you there. Yes. When I worked in the hospital, these are hospital people. These are health people who didn't sleep for 36 hours in a row. They were on call and just like, I don't know if they're, doing amphetamines in the closet or whatever, but these guys were on call for 36, I'm not kidding, 36 hours in a row on call or whatever, working like that. It seemed insane to me. It's the opposite of health.
It's in the opposite of the research. It's more of that's their tradition. And, I did it, so the next round of medical professionals need to do it too. I think it's a little bit.
I don't know if I'd want somebody operating on me who's been awake for 36 hours.
No, if we miss a night of sleep, we're erring towards mimicking being intoxicated.
I know.
Our
Drunk
sleeping.
driving or sleep-deprived driving is basically the same thing.
Oh, it's super dangerous. Yeah. And so when you're getting into, 18-hour shifts, 24-hour shifts, I mean, no, those people are mentally and physically basically impaired.
Yeah,
It's not good. I don't know why we do this,
I
but
don't know either.
why do we put them through that? I don't know.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
but it's not good.
Yeah. I just have all these memories. I'm not gonna take your time because but I have stories that I could tell of doctors coming to me for hypnosis or whatever. It's like, "Could you fix me?" It's like, "No, I can't. You need to get some sleep, damn it." You know? It was really amazing. Oh, that's really, really interesting. So melatonin, you said, is sometimes not as effective as we think it can.
Melatonin is a tricky one because it's so widely accepted. It's on our shelves, in every pharmacy and grocery store. Um, but it's a hormone. So it's really bizarre because you don't see testosterone and progesterone just on our grocery shelves.
Hmm.
Melatonin. So I don't know how that slipped through. But
Hmm.
melatonin it's unregulated. So unless you're getting medical grade, pharmaceutical grade melatonin that is put through, testing standards, what you're buying off the shelf has been shown to be anywhere from, I think, 10% of what the strength it says to 400 times the strength it says on the bottle.
Oh my
It
God.
is, and that can be within the same batch from the same manufacturer.
What?
Yeah, and there's cases of actually, parents are giving their children melatonin pretty freely, and I remember my pediatrician recommending that for my kids, and I went with it for a little while when I didn't, and then I realized it wasn't really helping them, but, there's overdoses of melatonin in children, and they die. It's
Oh.
horrible. So melatonin is a natural hormone that we're supposed to produce ourselves. And
Right.
so melatonin is great if you're going through time zones and you're about to deal with jet lag. It's great in telling your system, oh, this is your nighttime.
Right. Right.
But for long-term use, again, not supposed to be used long-term.
Fascinating. And again, you are so right because I I I just know that when we go to sleep, when we do a proper sleep cycle, then when you go down into deep sleep, that's when your body secretes the hormones that you need. The HGH, the human growth hormone, it gets released in deep sleep. So getting a good night's sleep, you go through these various cycles of REM and deep sleep and REM and deep sleep, but your body needs to go through those cycles. And that's also true, like you said, if you're doing sleeping pills, your body is sedated, so it's lower. It's not awake. It's not above the threshold of wakeness. So you get that going for you, but you're not getting the cycles either. You're just basically, staying at one level. And I think it's really important, really important. And part of the reason I wanted you to be here is because I think it's really important that people get good night's sleep. So we talked about light and circadian rhythms. How important is darkness? I mean, if you sleep at night, darkening the room and, you know, whatever. I knew this one fellow. I just, again, won't bore you with the stories that I have popping up in my brain, but this guy that I knew just couldn't sleep with darkness. He had to have a light on or the TV going or something. It was always with something on. But I'm a great believer personally of darkness. I love darkness. When it's dark here, my little country cottage here, this cabin that I'm hiding out in. When it's dark here, it's dark. It's just dark. You can't see your hand out in front of you, kind of darkness. At least on a dark night it is, and with the moon's out, that's different. But still, um, how important is that for humans? Is it just me, or is it kind of a human thing?
No, it's the other side of the coin of light. So darkness is extremely important to signaling to our body that this is your time for rest, rejuvenation, restoration. Um, and so if you need a light on at night, have it really low in the room. So maybe like a low night light, maybe
Hmm.
in the red realm. Are you hearing that feedback? I'm totally hearing feedback right now. um, So you get the wavelengths in the red realm, which are used backstage. I don't know if you've ever been backstage before, but in theaters, they use red lights because, it helps your eyes stay adjusted, and it doesn't signal to the body, "Wake up, produce cortisol," you know, be alert and out hunting. It's it's more stimulating the fire that our ancestors grew up around. It's those natural orange and red lights are perfectly fine for our nighttime. Just those blue bright lights that we come up that are distracting.
But you're saying that certain light, like natural flame light, from fireplaces or, sitting around the campfire in the days of yore, um, or yesterday, depending on where you live. But those are actually conducive to sleep and rest. I,
Yes.
I certainly remember many times sitting around the fireplace and just watching the flames go down and getting, not as awake or asleep, just kind of in a trance, looking at the flames and
Mhm.
zoning out. Seemed very restful to have that source of light happening.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's just so natural. The more we can replicate what our ancestors did, as much as we can in this modern society, the better off we're gonna be.
Yeah.
So allowing that darkness to envelop us at night and that quiet. And I mean, if you think about it, loneliness is actually very much linked with sleeplessness. And so, even thinking back to the village life, we're around the fire and we're with fellow villagers. We're in a community. We've got a
Mm,
sense of belonging and community, and that's also very conducive for sleep.
hmm. Yeah, my teacher Dave Dobson used to say that we're herd animals, like, you know, cows or antelopes or whatever. We're herd animals, so we feel more comfortable around, you know, the herd, the pack.
Mhm.
So that's
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah,
Yeah.
makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah.
What if we watch a fireplace on the computer screen, like the Yule log on the TV? Is that the same?
I don't know. I'm thinking it's better than watching the news, The news, oh my
Yeah,
gosh, watching the news at night is, like, one of the worst things you can do for your sleep.
that's
But watching a fireplace on the screen, I would think that's pretty okay. I don't know, what do you think? I don't know,
yeah.
but here's the thing, you can watch your TV at night, but wear blue blockers
Ah,
or have a blue blocking screen on your device.
oh yeah.
And there's lots of apps out there. But yeah, blue blocking glasses, they're available readily, on Amazon and I'm sure other places. But blocking that blue light that might still be coming from that TV screen. So you might be watching the fireplace, but maybe wear the blue blockers just in case.
Okay, very cool. Well, I think I'm sort of running out of questions here. Um, if people want to get hold of you, how do they do that? What is your website?
Yeah, my website is Better Sleep Made Simple. Just those four words all lumped together.
Okay.
And yeah, and you can find out a little bit more about me and anybody listening here. We can do a free 30-minute call to learn more about what I do and how I may be of service to you. And yeah,
Cool. And they find out about that at that website. There's a link to make a appointment with you at your.
yes, you can make appointments on there for the free call or for my coaching services. And there's a phone number there as well. So if you don't want to click around, you want to talk to a human, you can call me.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Better Sleep Made Simple.
Better Sleep Made
All one
Simple.com.
word. .com. Beautiful. Well, Kim West, thank you so much for being here.
Yes, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
It's really a pleasure. So really, thank you so much, and I hope that a lot of people do call you because honestly, I think good night's sleep is the answer to a lot of people's problems, from memory issues to health issues to weight issues. A lot of times people stay up late trying to get work done or whatever. So they're chomping down some carbs while they're doing that, staying up late. Just go to bed. And I used to keep, I don't have a bed stand next to my bed up here in this little cabin. It's a very small bedroom, so there's no room for anything on the side of the bed. So, but I used to, this is true, I used to have a bed stand, a nightstand on the side of my bed that I had this massive book. I had a couple of them over the years. I read the autobiography. The autobiographies tend to be my go-to put me to sleep thing because it's interesting. I like it, but it's not, like riveting to read Mark Twain's autobiography or a biography. I read the biography of, what's his name? Another politician, Truman. It was really interesting, but I'll read a few pages of that and it's like, oh, this is so interesting. So interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, good for you.
Yeah, and again, it was a book, so there was, I don't know if it's better to have an incandescent light or LED light or whatever, but it wasn't a screen coming at me. It was a book.
Yeah, incandescent is going to be best.
Oh, really?
At your bedside, or for, if you have like one of those little lights you stick on, clamp onto your book or something.
Right.
Try to go for the most orangey colored light you can, the old-fashioned ones.
All right. Very cool.
Yeah. But that I call that brain drain. Yeah. Great. Something you look forward to, but it is brain draining and just allowing you to just shut off.
Yeah. I mean, it literally took me probably 2 years to read the Truman biography, and I never finished the Mark Twain one. I think I have it out in the barn.
You had many nights of good sleep.
Yeah. Well, thank you again. And I will let you go.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
This has been the Essential Coaching Skills Podcast. Thank you for being here. It's a pleasure seeing you again. Hope to see you again real soon. Come back next week when we have another gripping and exciting episode of the Essential Coaching Skills Podcast. And if you want to, you can find out more about us, each and every one of us, at essentialcoachingskills.com. Thanks.